Snow Music Studio.
Baleko ab'emikwano kansuubire muli bulungi nnyo ddala mbanyiriza ku Joy Television mu mawulire agokya nga nze omusomi nze Vicky Blessing atoleire nga sinabagakwa mu bujjuvu kansooke nkuwe emitwe emikulu n'oluvannyuma nkomewo nga kuwe mu bujjuvu tuvaako. Okukebera endagabutonde kukakasizza abaana bana bokka abazaalibwa omugenzi Paulo Kafeero. Kabaka alabiseeko mu lujjudde Emmengo. Okukuba layini NEMA ezizzaawo enzizi z'ekajjansi. Amasomero g'obwannannyini gatenderezza okussa ssente mu bikozesebwa bya ssayansi. UPFMH etaddewo enteekateeka y'olukiiko lwa Africa olwa 2026. Nkulikeeyo mu mitwe emikulu ke kaseera nkuwe amawulire gaffe mu bujjuvu nga waneno tutandise n'enteekateeka za gavumenti ez'okunyweza abaganyulwa bangi bagabana emboozi z'obuwanguzi nga Hajati Namyalo akola omulimu gwe ogw'okulondoola okulaba engeri abantu okuva e Nakaseke gye baganyulwamu enteekateeka zino. Katulirabe.
The Vice President commended the district's outstanding performance, saying Isingiro should serve as a benchmark for other districts that receive similar government funding but continue to underperform in service delivery.
That His Excellency the President has asked the Ministry of Works and other MDAs to adopt, especially on large districts like Isingiro, Kasese, Tororo, and also Luganda.
She also acknowledged challenges affecting the district, including water scarcity and poor road infrastructure, and pledged that the government would continue addressing them, noting that Isingiro largely depends on agriculture for its economic growth.
For the case of the road units, for instance, instead of giving one, which is also given to a district with maybe 10 sub-counties, instead of giving one road unit to a district like Isingiro with 30 sub-counties, we should use that arm of good practice to give Isingiro 2 road units.
The Minister of State for Agriculture, Animal Industry and Fisheries, Honorable Bright Ramirama, who is also the Member of Parliament for Isingiro North, congratulated the district on the achievement.
You know how many times I came to you and the Minister of Finance to make sure that we get enough budget to recruit people. We have. We appreciate. We had challenges with our service, the health service systems.
He emphasized that the journey is not yet complete and urged leaders at all levels to remain united, focused and committed to delivering quality services to the people.
We had challenges of the road. We have roads made. We still gallop with some challenges which the chairman mentioned. We had challenges with our education infrastructure. We got Dr. Deep and we have done some.
The Isingiro District LC5 chairperson, Aaron Turahi, attributed the district's success to teamwork, accountability, discipline and commitment among political and technical leaders.
We have all the health center force and we have health center 2 and 3 working very well, but we don't have a district hospital. And when the president came, we requested the president to give us Tervet Rwekubo and give it a district hospital status, and he agreed. But up to now, we haven't received.
He appealed to the government to increase funding and provide additional road construction equipment, saying that the district's large geographical size continues to pose challenges in maintaining its road network.
You really, humbly, we request you and you give us the district hospital so that we can manage all these Ugandans and non-Ugandans.
Other leaders also hailed the district's achievement and called for continued cooperation to sustain high performance.
Togetherness, we shall win more. We have, of course, we achieving. We have gotten some services, but still some services are missing. For example, if you look at our water project, yes, we thank the president that he gave us the water project.
Ate ensimbi ezikendedde zitiisizza enkola y'obuweereza mu bifo ababundabunda we beesenga. Ofiisi y'ekitongole eky'Abassaabaminisita kivumiridde ensimbi ezigenda zikendeera buli kiseera.
Records from the Office of the Prime Minister show that Uganda hosts 2,024,000 refugees from 24 countries across the world. The refugees distributed in 13 different settlements across the country are now being affected in terms of service delivery due to declining funding, according to the Office of the Prime Minister. This was highlighted by the Office of the Prime Minister during an engagement with the media as part of the events of the Africa Public Service Day.
2015, when we had a refugee population of 500,000 individuals, we were getting $490 million. In 2024, when our refugee population reached 1.7 million, our funding reduced to $371 million across. In 2025, with a refugee population of 1.95 refugees, the funding declined further to $350 million. In 2026, with a refugee population of 2,424,000, our anticipated funding this year is about $165 million against a requirement of $950 million. So we have gaps all over.
The Office of the Prime Minister also pointed out key areas of focus in the 2025-2030 strategic plan. In the area of affirmative action, 6 sub-regions will benefit from strategic interventions.
Action for the marginalized groups. The plan is Uganda's coordination blueprint aligned with NDP4. Refugee management function, we expect to strengthen coordination and leadership in the refugee response. Under disaster management, we want to build resilience through across all government plans. So,
as the leader of government business with the slogan, moving from strategy to service, the Office of the Prime Minister plans to have a strong coordination system to ensure better accountability and service delivery to the citizens.
The initiative that we are having this year and going forward include revitalizing and re-energizing the mechanism for coordination, and of course that would make sure that all the players, all the interested parties, all the stakeholders are handling one thing at a time well. So if there is a program that we are doing, we don't duplicate resources, we use the resources well, and then we can save some resources for other activities. So
I mean continuously assess the implementation of projects and programs.
The Office of the Prime Minister is striving to ensure that citizens get better services because it improves on quality of life, but also creates trusts in institutions. Irene Faith Nantongu.
Eyo nga tuvuddeyo ate okwetangira okwetta UPFMH yetegekera olukiiko olw'ekitundu kya Africa olwa 2026 katulabe ebisinga.
Anyone who commits suicide is a criminal. But then science is telling us suicide is not a want, it's a sickness.
As concerns grow over increasing suicide cases across Africa, mental health advocates and policymakers are calling for a stronger innovation to address what experts describe as silent public health crisis.
That how do we talk about such issues? Are we representing the inner core of challenges that is going on?
Eyo nga tuvuddeyo ate NRM ebetenta abavuganya mu Kalangala nga ne Nabayiga aseeyeeya okutuuka ku buwanguzi mu kitundu e Kalangala.
Nabayiga Ida, who has attained the largest number of votes.
Results declared by Kalangala District Returning Officer Ronald Agaba showed Nabayiga emerging victorious with 12,642 votes, comfortably defeating 4 challengers. Her closest challenger, Irene Nampala of Nope, secured 7,474 votes. Independent candidate Sharifa Babirye polled 244 votes, while Helen Flavia Nagawa obtained 217 votes and Agnes Nasuna received 34 votes.
This has been a great victory that the NRM has achieved this evening. We want to thank God that we have been able to have our candidate winning this election. Of course, I cannot say it has been a walkover. I cannot say it has been a very easy one, because there is no campaign or election that is just a walkover. We thank God that however difficult or however easy it could have been, we have been able to make it. I want to thank the people of Kalangala for listening to the voice of the president when he came to join us to campaign for the NRM flag bearer. We have worked as a team, and I would like to use this opportunity to thank the people of Kalangala first and foremost. We have used our strategy, our grassroots mobilization strategy, where the people were the ones involved in their own election.
The declaration came at around 2:30 a.m. following delays in transporting and tallying results from the district's distant islands.
I want to appeal to the people of Kalangala. Much as the opposition has not won, but the members of the opposition are going to remain as people of Kalangala. Let us keep united, and let's keep as people of Kalangala, keep as people of Kalangala. For us who came to give you a hand are going to leave Kalangala, but you're going to remain as the Kalangala people, or the family of Kalangala, Kalangalans.
As results pointed to an NRM win, the tally center was dominated by ruling party supporters, while opposition presence faded.
To the victor, whoever is going to be declared the winner of this election, that please, the first call of a leader is to unite even the vanquished. So unite the vanquished, reach out to them, because you are all Kalangalans. For us, we are leaving you in this area in Kalangala, so make sure you build bridges and bring all of those people who have participated in this exercise on board to make sure that you work together as a team.
Nabayiga thanked the people of Kalangala for entrusting her with the mandate to represent them in Parliament and pledged to prioritize issues affecting island communities.
It is really a great feeling. I'm pressured to have been declared the winner amongst the 5. So the NRM government, the NRM party has taken it. So I thank my party for the support. I thank my voters. I thank all my well-wishers for having been supportive to me, and I'm really indebted to them.
Nabayiga later exited the district headquarters to scenes of celebration, escorted home by cheering supporters in song and dance.
Okyali ku Joy Television mawulire agoocha naye kansooke tugendeko mu Bulango n'oluvannyuma nkomewo nga bongere mu bujjuvu tovaako. agokya nga wanene otandikidde nti endagabutonde ezakebeddwa abaana 25 abagambibwa okuba nti omugenzi Paulo Kafeero yabazaala kukakasiddwako abaana 4 bokka abalina okuba nga Paulo Kafeero omugenzi yabazaala. Katubirayi mu bujjo
kati this eno kita DNA kiri munda muffe.
Government, through the then Minister of State for Youth and Children, Balaam Barugahara, initiated efforts to solve the long-standing paternity dispute within the family of the late Paul Job Kafeero, calling for a conclusive DNA test. The DNA test process was after the exhumation of the late Paul Kafeero's body earlier this month, which was deemed as the only solution to acquire credible samples from the deceased's remains.
Of the late Kafeero Paul be exhumed and the applicant acquires a sample for the DNA test in order to establish the paternity relationship of the children with the deceased. Secondly, the exhumation process of the same be done in the presence of the family members and local council under supervision of the police.
On Thursday afternoon, the results were released by both the Government Analytical Laboratory and the Police Forensic Department. The confirmed children include Kafeero Ben, Kafeero Simon Peter, Kafeero Thomas, and Nagawa Elizabeth.
There is strong genetic evidence for the proposition that Paul John Kafeero is the biological father of the following persons. 1. Kafeero Ben.
Kafeero Ben? Nagawa Elizabeth, wale yabagambye mwana wa Kafeero. Kafeero Ben yabagambye mwana wa Kafeero. Kafeero Simon Peter. And Kafeero Thomas.
4 out of the 25 children who claim to be of the late musician Paul Kafeero tested positive. The voices dropped low for a while as losers were seen reflecting on the next move.
We've got the results of the DNA exercise which was undertaken some time back. It was a scientific exercise, so we accept what has come out, and I believe that that is that. My instructions have ceased today because that is basically what the findings of the scientist has been.
Minister Balaam expressed trust in the scientific process, which he termed confirmatory, and that it will create relief in the paternity role among the alleged children of Kafeero. Both the confirmed and the dropped children have been advised to reconcile to end any existing disputes in the family. Minister Balaam promised support to them from government through poverty alleviation programs.
So I want to thank Analytical Laboratory also brought 4 out of 25. So now that confirms, I wanted to have a confirmatory test. That confirms Paul Kafeero had 4 children. I'm appealing to the children who don't belong to Kafeero, but they knew they belong to Kafeero. They start a circle, and even the 4 who belong to Kafeero can start a circle. Government will support them. We have so many government programs that we can use to support those young people. Like we have PDM.
The children were further asked to turn up at Mengo Court, where results shall be presented and distributed among family members. This is the second time such tests are made after the family members disagreed with the first attempt by MBN Laboratory. Joseph Chigozigola.
Naye banaye abaana 4 ku baana 25 Uganda zaabu. Anyway, abaana abasigaddewo kati basabire Mukama abayambe muzuule ebika byammwe. Eyo nga tuvuddeyo abanema bagenze e Kajansi nga bakuba layini ku bizimbe ebigambibwa okuba nti byazimbibwa mu ntobazi era nga essaawa yonna baddayo babimenye. Katubira bimujjo.
Kajansi wetland located along Kampala-Entebbe corridor has faced increasing pressure from human activities including construction, industrial developments and settlement expansion. Last month, there arose controversy about alleged selective restoration by NEMA after videos of degradation of the wetland emerged. In an effort to restore the fragile Kajansi ecosystem, NEMA officials have begun a boundary marking exercise aimed at determining the exact boundaries of the wetland and identifying areas that have been degraded through encroachment.
The exercise will finally guide us on restoring this area.
At least 37 houses have been marked in the areas of Katiko, Birongo Sale, Mutungo, Parish in Kigo, Machindi Sabagabo, and Lumpewo wetland.
At the close of the day, 35 permanent structures have been identified as being in the wetland, and developers of these houses will be given, issued with restoration orders in the next 1 week.
The exercise is intended to establish the correct wetland boundaries based on scientific data and approved maps. Once the boundaries are confirmed, restoration orders will be issued to individuals and entities found to have encroached on the wetland.
When we marked these houses as being in this wetland, we have spoken to a few of them and we told them to begin the restoration exercise.
NEMA says the marking process is expected to guide enforcement action and ensure that restoration efforts are undertaken in accordance with the environmental laws and regulations. After the marking, the affected developers will be issued restoration orders, giving them an opportunity to voluntarily comply before enforcement measures are undertaken.
To these developers to respect our instructions and leave the wetland in 21 days and also restore these places they have degraded. But they can also choose to go to court when they are issued with the restoration order.
The exercise comes amid growing concerns over wetland degradation across the country, which has continued to threaten natural water systems and increased risk of flooding. Susan.
Ate amasomero g'obwannannyini gatendereza okussa ssente mu bya saayansi okutumbula ebyenjigiriza bya saayansi e Wakiso.
Here we have a model of the human skeleton, and I'm going to identify the parts of the human skeleton. This is the skull, also known as the cranium.
In a classroom experience, the teaching and learning of sciences will be facilitated by the availability of equipment.
Pivot joints are formed at the neck. Ball and socket joints are formed at the shoulder and the hip.
We had to invest in this project because we have found it very applicable, especially in the CBC teaching mode. We have found that their equipment make learners really do enjoy practical lessons, do touch, do realize, do get the real feel of what the teacher is teaching, and it has brought us good performance effect. Our children are now performing better because of this kind of equipment we had to invest in.
This is Westgate School in Wakiso district, where teaching using science kits has improved the understanding of science subjects. It breaks the traditional use of learning aids such as pictures.
The science kit has helped us in many things like understanding what the teachers teach. Most times we have not been understanding what they tell us, but when they brought the science kit, we get chances to do practical learning and we understand thoroughly what we are learning.
When the science kits were not there, children were not understanding, but since the day they came, we all know how science feels, how the subject is good.
Riverflow International supplies the science kits. The teachers say the initiative has eased the teaching of science lessons.
I think from the time we got, it has been really a blessing. It has eased our work because with the introduction of these competence-based curriculum, it was not really going to be easy to handle it. Now our children are able to do these things practically and the work is going on so easily.
At Global Junior School in Impigi district, the head teacher Juma Chemeri wants other private schools to invest in the use of science kits since the performance in science subjects at his school has improved.
We had not been doing good in science, but when these learner-centered sort of methods were introduced basically from the use of these science kits, it has actually changed our performance, whereby the grades that we used to have in science have actually changed, and that's why we are able to score. Our performance previously, when you look at in the grading, it has actually reduced to only first grade and second grade.
The science kit has helped me to calculate the volume of an irregular object practically and some of the measurements. If I didn't have the science kit, I would have not calculated the volume and other measurements practically.
The Ministry of Education and Sports collaborates with Riverflow International to supply science kits to government primary schools while private schools invest their own money.
Eyo nga tuvuddeyo ate MWE ewagira okwenyingira kw'abakwatibwako okutuuka kubika okunaaba okwabona. Katubirabe.
The major focus as per the Ministry of Water and Environment's 2025-2030 strategic plan is on scaling up access to water, sanitation and hygiene, also called WASH services, despite a massive financing shortfall. The plan targets 95% access to safe water in rural areas, 100% coverage in urban areas, and basic sanitation for 60% of Ugandans by 2030.
In urban areas, we want to move from 73% to 85% functionality. Again, we want to increase it from around 84% to 90%.
It also aims to raise hand washing with soap to 80% of households and keep more than 90% of rural water points functional.
The first mile really, or the last mile, is where all is said and done. People must use the wash facilities. It doesn't matter moving the water from where it is, we put all these investments. If people can't do that last act, then we have a problem, which we also need to invest into, and that is the hygiene and the sanitation part.
What is the understanding at a family level? How can we get this to be done? She talked of 150 years planning. So we will discuss this thing until cows go home, unless we take it back home to the household level and to the family level. So my prayer is that as somebody who comes from the broadcasting point of view, we have a role to play. Coordination, making sure that the information is done. We are ready to join UNICEF and government to make sure that at the family level, the first seed is planted right there.
To get there, the ministry is shifting towards pipe-to-water schemes, solar-powered systems, and private sector involvement in sanitation and fecal sludge management.
In many areas, we're having aging infrastructure. So it needs to be rehabilitated and expanded. Wastewater and reuse, again we want to turn waste into products that can generate money, hygiene and sanitation marketing. Bulk water transfer and irrigation, we want to provide water for multipurpose uses and also support irrigation, farmer-led irrigation, so that we can improve productivity on the farm.
The Minister of State for Water, Aisha Sechindi, says Uganda's WASH challenges are being worsened by climate change, population growth, and poor infrastructure, with 15% of rural water sources non-functional and urban systems unable to cope with demand.
Climate change is fundamentally a water crisis. Our traditional water sanitation and hygiene WASH infrastructure was never engineered to withstand these extreme shifts.
During a national high-level dialogue on climate resilient water and sanitation services in Uganda, it was established that continuous funding gaps could undermine this ambitious dream.
The amount of money we are getting is very little compared to the needs. 1.3 trillion, you need 11 trillion. That gap, and if we don't fill that gap, then we cannot deliver service. Right now, access to safe water still very low, 67%, and hasn't increased in rural areas. In urban areas, 72%. But we are also having challenges with too much water. That's why we want to invest in water harvesting. We want to invest in catchment protection and general management of water resources.
To bridge this gap, the ministry is banking on increased domestic budget allocation, public-private partnerships, climate finance, and result-based funding from donors. Alongside the 2025-2030 strategic plan is the 2026-2030 climate adaptation plan that aims to climate-proof water and sanitation systems, protect catchments, and attract innovative financing.
Wetuvaayo ate abakwatibwako basaba wabeewo ensimbi ez'amaanyi okunyweza obukuumi bw'abantu.
According to stakeholders, social protection is not only about reducing poverty, but also about protecting communities from shocks such as illness, unemployment, climate change, and economic hardship.
Also want to inform you that in the next financial year, we are starting a program on child disability grants, which will be 100% government funded at 15 million. So we are taking steps in that direction. Then also enhance public awareness and inform the communities and inform the public about these programs so that they can participate in the planning and the implementation.
Flavia Kabahenda, chairperson of the Uganda Parliamentary Forum on Social Protection, says the forum continues to work with civil society organizations to influence Parliament to enact better policies and laws that promote social protection.
To indicate that social protection must be provided for all the people of Uganda. And we are taking social protection as a humanitarian tool, and so it must continue to be given up to the whole life cycle.
Stakeholders emphasize the need to expand social protection programs to people working in the informal sector, noting that many Ugandans earn their livelihoods outside the formal employment system and therefore remain exposed to economic risks. They called for universal health insurance coverage and expanded social protection programs for children and persons with disabilities across Uganda.
We should ensure decent labor, decent employment. After people have come from school, they must enjoy decent employment. So you can clearly see that at every stage of the life cycle, there is a social protection benefit that we need to provide.
Stakeholders further urged government to prioritize the National Health Insurance Scheme, describing it as a key component of a comprehensive social protection system. They also called for a dedicated budget for social protection programs to ensure sustainable support for older persons, children, persons with disabilities, refugees, and other at-risk communities.
But most of these programs have a very low coverage. We did talk about, for example, the 3 groups in disabled for the whole district is really very low. Even with the child disability program that we are going to implement, the coverage is very low. At least percent is near 100%, very good. But largely, if only 6.4% of our vulnerable population are covered by this one social protection program, when the sub-Saharan average is 17, then we have work to do. But also these programs are very fragmented and don't cover the persons in the informal sector. So we also need to pay attention to the informal sector, including refugees. This is something that we are continuing to build the capacities of all of us to appreciate social protection. We're running a curriculum called Transform, which is a social protection training curriculum, which we run for various stakeholders, and this helps us to appreciate and understand social protection.
The forum says social protection should go beyond support for the elderly and include maternal health, child nutrition, early childhood development, health insurance, decent employment, and workplace protection to ensure all citizens live dignified lives.
There is
Ate omuyambi wa President Fiona Balungi anoonyereza ku nkaayana z'ettaka lya Kanaaba abuuzizza ofiisi za President ebibuuzo bingi nnyo ddala katubyerabireko.
The disputed Chibanja, measuring approximately 8 acres, is said to have belonged to the late Sewamala Angelo. Following his death, the property was reportedly left to his children and grandchildren, including Robina Nachibirige Sewamala, who petitioned the Office of the Senior Presidential Assistant for Special Duties seeking intervention in the ongoing conflict. During a fact-finding visit to Kanaaba village, Fiona Balungi said preliminary findings indicate that the matter is surrounded by numerous claims and counterclaims involving several individuals.
There was a lot of chaos. There are those who bought fraudulently. There are those who didn't use legal, procedures of getting what they are supposed to get. It is a lot of mixture of a lot of things. So when I discovered that there were a lot of things that were happening, rotating around the ownership, I decided to call a meeting here.
At the meetings, all individuals claiming interests in the Chibanja were given an opportunity to explain how they acquired their respective plots.
Judgment zonna ezaakolebwa
ku ndagaano eyali enjinge
ne tufayitinga emakingi era ne mbawangula.
Olina endagaano?
Nina endagaano.
Eraga nti Hakimu yakuguza?
Ye madam.
Eri wase.
Kansoke nkumalira ebyo ndowooza mikulu.
Top property eno wali ogigula million 185 mmeka? Mutano. Has paid the vendor a full total purchase of price of 240 million. There's a problem with this document.
There are brokers that made a lot of chaos rotating around the ownership of the land, and they ended up cheating people.
Barungi directed all claimants to submit documentary proof detailing the process through which they obtained ownership or occupants' rights on the Chibanja.
I sent for everything. I told each of those people to compile for me a file so that I compare these files and get one decision.
Tension arose when Kato Bumali accused ASP Avito Biajira of taking over Chibanja he claims belongs to him.
Yakugwako bajiba Kigongo afuna share ye kuva mu family. Ajikuzo mwami gwe bayita yamulira idi katuwagula kwani.
Something. He doesn't have an agreement of the land, but whatever he was showing me was something to do with the leaders of the clan. The leaders of the clan and police sat down and gave him ownership of land.
This prompted Barungi to demand further verification of the documents, while strongly condemning what she described as the misuse of government offices to harass citizens.
Anti-corruption anti-corruption DPP's office. Office let them not handle what they are not supposed to handle. Corruption why don't they handle corruption? Bring a reporter, and I don't care. He is arresting a senior police officer who has a right claim according to the papers that I saw. But I wonder how anti-corruption unit arrested that man.
The investigation into the Kanaba land dispute is ongoing, with all parties expected to submit additional evidence to support their claims as authorities work towards establishing the rightful ownership of the contested property.
Ngeyo tuvuddeyo ate Kabaka alabiseeko mu lujjudde olunaku olwaleero e Mengo nga wano mu kwogera kwe alabudde ku by'okuwamba abantu okweyongedde ennyonnyo ddala. Katubirabe mu lujju.
The royal drums sounded early at the Kabaka's palace in Mengo as the clan leaders prepared for a meeting with His Majesty the Kabaka. At around midday, the Kabaka moved out of the Twekowe house amid the sound of drums and traditional royal instruments. His Majesty addressed the clan heads and urged them to continue guiding their grandchildren to uphold and respect their culture.
Okuyigiriza n'okwagazisa bazzukulu bammwe empisa, emmano, ebyafaayo n'olulimi lwaffe.
The Kabaka also spoke about the increasing cases of abductions, kidnappings and violation of human rights, saying that such acts must be stopped.
Ensonga ey'okukwatira amateeka mu ngalo oba obutagoberera mateeka kintu kya bulabe. Tusaasira abo bonna abatyoboddwa mu ngeri eno. Tusaba bekikwatako okulaba nti ensi yaffe efugibwa ku nkola essa ekitiibwa mu bantu.
He expressed concern about unemployment among the youth and land grabbing. He urged his subjects to remain united.
Okwekengera nga mwe muli ekibbattaka, tulina ekizibu ky'obwavu, endwadde n'ebbula ly'emirimu mu bantu baffe abasinga obungi. Awo nno okusobola okuwaŋŋanga ebitusoomooza tusaanidde okutambulira awamu, era bwe tuba nga tulina ensonga tusaanye okuwuliziganya n'okukolera awamu.
The Kabaka noted with satisfaction that despite the challenges facing young people, they continue to show love for the kingdom and support towards kingdom activities.
Kimpa essanyu lingi nnyo okulaba nga abavubuka ba Buganda bangi bettanira era bawagira nnyo Obwakabaka. Tubalinamu essuubi ddene.
On behalf of the clan leaders, the chairperson of their council, Omutaka Namwama Augustine Kizito Mutumba, expressed dissatisfaction over government delay to return Buganda's belongings.
Bannaffe balina obuyinza okusasula ssente zaffe ku nsonga ku byobugagga by'Obwakabaka ate ne batatusasula. Ne twesiŋŋaana ng'Obuganda bulina okunoonya ssente wano ne wali.
The clan leaders, together with their katikiros, attended the meeting.
Mwebale kulaba amawulire agokya mubadde balabi balungi nnyo ddala okuva gye twatandikidde era nga mbagaliza weekendi ennungi nnyo ddala ate mmwe abagenda mu overnight olunaku olwaleero mbagaliza olugendo olulungi nnyo ddala ne overnight eggwe mu maanyi ennyo ddala naye nga teweerabira agendako ku church olunaku olw'Essande kubanga okusinza Mukama kye kisinga byonna awatali Mukama tewali bulamu bwaffe awatali Mukama tewali ebyo byonna byolina essaawa zino birabika okubanga ebingi birabika okubanga ebitono naye nga obulamu bwe businga oba oyagala okumanya nti obulamu bwe businga gendako mu madwaliro ag'enjawulo ojja kumanya nti awo wooli olina okwebaza Mukama Katonda. So teweerabira gendako ku Sunday olunaku olwa Sunday mu church noweebazaako omutonzi kubanga singa simaanyike singa si buyinza bwe wandibadde oba osanga ofuna accident ng'oddayo ewaka oba ng'ogenda ku mulimu naye olw'ekisa kya Mukama n'amaanyi ge n'obukuumi bwe bwakuwa otuuka bulungi nnyo era n'oddayo bulungi nnyo ewaka abaana ne basobola okubanga bakulabako gwe taata oba gwe maama. So teweerabira olunaku olwa Sunday oyitako mu church ne weebaza omutonzi. Joy Television amawulire agokya kwemu gakomye nga nsigadde nze Vicky Blessing atoleile tusinkane olunaku olwa Monday mbagala nnyo Mukama abankumire mweraba.